Well, hi there, and happy Monday to you. I'm Debbie Georgiani, and welcome to your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And we introduce topics, we send them out to the whole world, and you guys weigh in on these wonderful subjects and bring your wisdom, your takes, your experience, and we learn and grow together. That's how Take Two rolls. It's been going strong for 9+ years, and we're excited about that because of you. So fill those phone lines as I ask the question, and definitely those that are only children today, you are in luck. You'll understand why. So you guys are in luck, but I'm going to ask the question of the Take Two family. Ready? Do you feel like your parents had a favorite child? Do you feel like your parents favored one of maybe your siblings, or maybe you felt like you were the favorite child? Now, if you're an only child, you're, like I said, you're in luck. Congratulations. You are the favorite child. But if you had siblings, and especially if maybe you had, I'm a female, so I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. So there's a lot of competition depending on where you're at in the line of the family, if you have a big family. And sometimes you do feel that parents tend to favor one child over another. And let's talk about it. I know they say parents don't. They should never favor a certain child. The love spreads to each child equally, and that's true. I know that for a fact, because I am a parent of 2 boys, and the love is exactly this. For me, the love is the same. However, their personalities are different. You can relate to one sometimes in various situations and to the other at a different time. Or maybe a personality is a little bit hard to deal with. And so you tend to stay a little bit distant as a parent sometimes. That can happen. So you love your children abundantly and equally, but maybe you don't necessarily actually like some of their characteristics or personalities as much as you do another child. That could be possible, right? I don't know. Let's talk about it. So I need your help. It's really easy to call in. You're going to speak to Ace McKay today, so he's on the calls. The phone's ready to answer. And the question is, do you feel like your parents had a favorite child? And if you want to fess up as a parent, maybe you did have a favorite child, and they're for various reasons. Maybe there was a child that was special needs, and you really just doted on them and really cared for them, and you elevated them just a little bit, just because of what they were going through. Let's talk about it. If you don't want to give your real first name because you don't want to start any family problems, I understand that. You don't want to open up any can of worms and start any tension in the family. Give your confirmation name, or give a name that you wish your parents called you if you were the favorite child. Okay, so do you feel like your parents had a favorite child? That's what we're talking about today on Take Two. Now, you may say to yourself, what does this have to do with my spiritual life? It has a lot to do with it, because a lot of people grow up and they hold it against their parents. They even into their later years, they'll say things like when they're in their 50s or 60s, my parents, favored my brother and gave my brother everything over me. And they hold on, and they harbor resentment and anger and unforgiveness. And that's not healthy. Okay, why? Because it's going to land you in purgatory for a lot longer. And that's the reality of things. So if you have something to say about this, do you feel like your parents had a favorite child? Let's talk about it, maybe get past it, maybe understand it better, have a new perspective, have a new outlook, have a new attitude. So we walk away with that behind us, and we can move on. 833-288-EWTN. That's the number to call. Do you feel like your parents had a favorite child? You don't have to be Catholic to call in. I say that every single time we do the show, 5 days a week. Why? Because we get emails every single time we do the show with new listeners. So you don't have to be Catholic to call in. If you have something to say about this, please dial in and give us your experience of growing up in a family where you felt like your parents had a favorite child, and maybe you are that favorite child. Maybe you're the only child and you're so glad you don't have to compete with siblings. Tell us about that as well. 833-288-EWTN. That's the number to call. 833-288-3986. Just a couple phone lines open if you have something to say about this. I knew this was going to spark the phones because everybody has a lot to say about it. It's a big issue. parents these days, I think they're under the microscope, and I think it's unfortunate. They tend, I think adult children, we sometimes go back to how our parents raised us, and we can be very critical and hypersensitive in certain areas, and throw things around like, oh well, this traumatized me when I was a child, or this really hurt me. It hurt my self-esteem. And that could have happened. Absolutely. I want to validate that. That's a definite thing that could have happened. But for the most part, parents are doing the best they can. They are doing, they love their children very, very much. They want to bring life into the world. They want to do what God expects them to do as parents. They truly, truly want to let their children grow up and learn the faith, live in the faith, and then go off into the world in a solid, independent way. For the most part, parents they're not trying to harm their children or stunt their growth in any way or stop their self-esteem from just being healthy. They really want their children to be balanced and to do well. But I will tell you that, sometimes in big families, it can be difficult. You've got, let's just say you got a mom and a dad, right? And you've got a big family of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kids. I mean, it's asking a lot of parents, And I just think we really need to go back to the commandment of honor your father and mother and honor your grandparents. It's important that we start to go back to how God set it up. Because I was just talking to my brother yesterday, and I was sharing with him some really alarming statistics about how many children are estranged from their parents and grandparents. It has grown significantly over the past 2 years. Now, through the pandemic, there was a little bit of a halt because people, I think, were nervous if people were going to be alive and things like that. But post-COVID, it's gotten worse, where kids, adult children, are just throwing away their parents and saying, I've had enough. I don't want them in my life. They're toxic. They're this, they're that. It's very unfortunate. And I think some of it has to do with this idea of favoritism. So let's talk about it. Please fill those phone lines. Please call in 833-288-3986 and join us for this discussion on, do you feel like your parents had a favorite child? And I'll be right back.
People of America, listen to his voice. Do not be afraid.
Are you frustrated or disheartened by the state of our culture? Do you feel a need for genuine revival in America? Join us at the Reviving America Summit hosted by David B. Wright. This powerful 25-episode, 25-day video podcast and radio series promises to inspire and equip you with the tools to make a real impact. Hear from David B. Wright and his expert guests as they provide actionable steps to lead change in your local communities. Connect with like-minded individuals who are passionate about bringing positive change to our nation. Plus, gain exclusive insights and practical advice that you can implement immediately. Best of all, signing up is absolutely free. Don't miss this chance to be part of a movement that can transform America. Visit revivingamericasummit.com to sign up now. That's revivingamericasummit.com. Let's revive America together.
Are you facing a crisis in life? Are you feeling stuck and unable to see your way out of your current situation? You just might need a fresh perspective, and we are here to assist. That's what life coaching is all about, sticking to a plan and creating new habits for a better life, all with God at the center. Look into a completely free consultation today at standtalltoday.com. We have a team of life coaches ready to help you get excited about life again at standtalltoday.com.
Please weigh in on this topic. Do you feel like your parents had a favorite child, or maybe you felt like you were the favorite child, or you feel like you didn't have any of that in your family, and tell us how that worked out, which is great. We want to get it from all perspectives, okay? So the way Take Two works and the way it works well is when we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we really got to have a real candid discussion about this. You can't sugarcoat it, okay? So please So please go for it. I really and truly expect you to weigh in on this so we can have a robust discussion. Before I get to Bernadette, who's in Bullhead City, Arizona, Bernadette, hold on, don't go anywhere. I just wanted to share with our listeners I wanted to share with our listeners Radio FM. If you have the Radio FM app, you can listen to EWTN Radio's live stream. Open the Radio FM app and search EWTN. Okay, it's that simple. So super cool, and please check it out. And it just makes streaming in all sorts of ways to get EWTN that much easier. Okay, so let's go. Oh, let me give the number one more time. 833-288-3986. That's the number to call. And let me go to Bernadette. Bernadette's on the EWTN app in Bullhead City, Arizona. Bernadette, I love Bullhead City, just to let you know. Go right ahead.
It's so hot here. I'm surprised.
Yeah, okay, so let's give all of our listeners a real fun thing about Arizona, because we both live in Arizona. What's your temperature today, or going to be today?
Right now it's 97, and I think today we might hit 113, 111, but it's not as bad as June. We were in the 120s, so
wow.
It's a lot better.
But it's a dry heat, right, Bernadette?
It's finally dry today, yeah. Dry is definitely better than humidity in this town.
Oh, my goodness. So go right ahead. So what do you think about this topic about favorite children?
Oh, geez. I have two areas to cover. I am now 51 and the mother of three. But my child, I have a special needs daughter and three older boys. And in my own family growing up, I was the eldest of seven. And I was definitely not the favored one. And that led to a lot of emotional trauma. Because I was more treated as like the living nanny. You know, it was do this, do that, go change the baby, help me with this, help me with that. And I felt like I was overlooked, whereas my second sibling was favored because she was always so more loving, and she was given more affection than where I was more like viewed like a servant. You know, by the grace of God, I've worked through all that trauma. And now because of that, it's drawn me closer to my Blessed Mother and Jesus. But for the longest time, there was so much bitterness and almost a, envy towards my siblings. And I felt neglected and unloved as well.
Let me ask you a question, Bernadette. Did you express that as you were feeling it, or did you just, absorb it all and stuff it?
There was moments in my adulthood. I stuffed it all as a child.
You did? Okay.
Because I felt like my mother was not going to listen to me. My dad was the one that would talk to me because he would notice. He was just such a wise man. He's no longer with us. But he would notice, and he would speak to me separately, privately, in the back of the yard when I would go into hiding to ask God, why do I have this mom? I would yell at God. And then my dad, sorry, I missed him, would make me see the light of things.
Oh, that's beautiful.
He was amazing. By the grace of God, he helped me through a lot of that. But my mom would always come back with, oh, you know that if I cut off one of my fingers, they're all equal, they'll all bleed equally. How could you think that I, love the other ones more than you? When I was older and I would bring it up. So it was just a topic that she wouldn't want to discuss.
Wow. So how did you reconcile? Yeah. Is your mother still with us?
Yes, she still is. She's now 74.
Okay. How did you reconcile it with her? Did you go through? Did you go through counseling? Did you? Where is it today?
No, not well. Mostly my priest at the time. He's retired now, but he was our priest for 25 years. He would acknowledge a lot of the things that he would see personally when he would be at the house, visiting us on Sundays after Mass for lunch. Mm-hmm. And he helped me process a lot of it, and then the priest after that as well. A lot of meetings in the office with my priest, spiritual direction, and my dad. My dad was just amazing. Even towards the end, he would acknowledge how much, I did for him and for the family, and say, you need to just, forgive her. She just doesn't know how because of the way she was raised. And, and he would open my eyes to a lot of things. So, but it drew me closer to Jesus and Mary. So there's some good in it all.
Yeah, that's the result of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank God for that. But now with my daughter and my kids, I tried not to repeat any of my mom's mistakes. And I thought I was doing a good job until recently when my son, who is now a scientist for Regeneron in New York, he had wrote a thesis to get accepted to a doctorate program. And I was brought to tears because I thought I had protected them from feeling that they weren't special because all my attention was drawn to my daughter, who has special needs. It's a very hands-on job. And I would try to make them, feel special by never missing an event for them. Little did I know that they were watching. Your children are very observant, and that's the part that we as mothers forget. I completely forgot, that they're watching everything, just like I was with my mom. And I completely bypassed that because I was in the thick of, getting her services and a therapy and just everything. She's deaf. She has global delays, and she also has hypotonic cerebral palsy, and with autism, so she's nonverbal. So it was a very physical and tasking job for me to be at my daughter's service, and still am. She's still, living with us. But in my son's, it was like a thesis for him to be accepted, and he gave it to me. He wanted me to read it, and
what did he say?
Starts, off immediately. The first paragraph. I come from a small town, from a mother who had to put up with people telling her how to raise a special needs child, and living in the limelight of everyone, noticing everything that was happening in our lives, and people staring at us in public because of her outbursts, because she can get really loud. And here I thought I had protected him from all that.
Yeah.
Because the world can be so cruel. And I never realized that they were going through their own emotional, trauma at the hands of the public, whether they were staring or making, vicious comments like, oh, look at her, speaking of my daughter. And so then I felt like a failure as a mother. So all I could do was apologize. He goes, no, you don't need to apologize, Mom, because it just brought a light to our lives that we didn't know at the time that we were living, that we were able to process and see the world on a different level than the regular people do that don't live this life.
Right.
So,
well,
there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Bernadette, let me just, I brought, real quickly, but I brought the prayer book out, and you spoke so nicely of your father, and he has gone on to meet the Lord. Do you feel comfortable giving us his first name so I could put him in the book?
Absolutely. His name is Art.
Art. Okay. Beautiful. I think what you shared is so powerful today, and I hope that our Take Two family is really taking it in, because there were several things that you said that just jumped out. The first one is of course kids are watching everything. When parents say things like, "Oh, they're fine. They're playing with their toys. They're doing well in school." They're still seeing everything, absorbing everything, forming their own personalities, and they're taking in what they're observing and seeing if it's true or not. They're doing their own type of growing up, and so that is very, very true. And they are like little sponges, and they always have their eyes open and their ears listening to everything. So that is true. But what you said, I think, is so powerful for all of us as parents and grandparents. You went through a lot growing up, a lot, and it really affected you. So when you were raising your children, you chose to make sure that things were different and to have the children feel like they're special, and that's a beautiful thing. So your intention is very, very good, and it's holy and it's wonderful, and God, it's pleasing to God. We know that because that's what intention is. When we have a really good intention about something, God sees that, and God knows our hearts. And yet it had this different effect on your son, and that's got to be painful. And so what that tells me is it really does confirm for me, Bernadette, that we can try our hardest to be perfect, and it's not going to happen. It's just not. We live in a broken world. We live in a compromised situation. Thank you very much, Adam and Eve. And there's not much we can do about that. What the outcome is. But if we know from our hearts that we tried our best, like you did, that's what's pleasing to God. That's how I feel about it. And then I also look at the outcome of our adult children and some of us with grandchildren. They're surviving, they're thriving, they're doing well, and they're getting through it. And if it can make them stronger and closer to God, like it did for you, Bernadette, then God works all things for the good. He's gonna make good come out of it. So I'm at peace about it, because I have to tell you, I went through a similar thing with one of my children, making some comments about how what he observed when he was being raised. And I mean, we see it very differently. I got to tell you, I see it one way and he sees it another way, and that's awesome. I mean, I guess you have two perspectives, but I'm at peace. So I hope you are at peace. It sounds like you are, though.
I am now, but it's still painful to think that I didn't do enough, and I try not to beat myself up over it, and that's forgiven my mom,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I'm at peace with it too, but yeah, I can't stress it enough to parents. My mom used to say this: "Oh, they're not paying attention," or my aunt would say something to my mom like, "Oh, don't say that," or "Don't do that." My mom would say, "Oh, they're not paying attention." Oh, believe me, your children are paying attention to how you react to everything in life, how you process everything, how you deal with stresses in life. And I cannot stress that enough to every single parent out there. Your children are watching you like
Mm-hmm.
a scientist watches, everything in a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I can't stress that enough.
I totally agree, and I'm a life coach, Bernadette, and I will tell you that I work with families where parents have said that they used to argue behind closed doors. They'd go to the bedroom to have an argument, and they'd say our kids would never hear us argue, and I would talk to the kids, and they say we always heard them arguing.
Oh yeah,
So it's kind of interesting again how everybody receives it and perceives it. But wow, Bernadette, it's good to hear you chuckle. Okay, stay cool in Bullhead City, Arizona. Thank you so much for calling in, and this was very important. You got us started because as you were talking, the phones just lit up. So people have a lot to say about this, and it's. I think Bullhead City is a beautiful place to go for like a long weekend too. It's a great. I don't want to add more tourists to your city, but it's a great city. So God bless you, Bernadette.
Bless you too.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I always joke around about Arizona because Arizona is a wonderful place to visit and to vacation. And we have so many cool sites here, but a lot of us here we're so used to all these people moving in constantly that it's like, okay, everybody talk bad about Arizona so people won't come here. But, you could just look at the map and see that we have, 350 days of sunshine a year. We're pretty blessed in this area too. Okay, let's go. I'm going to say hello to Bill on Sirius XM 130 in Dallas, Georgia. Bill, I wanted to say hi, and then I'm going to have to put you on hold for just a couple minutes, but good morning, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm just sitting in my car listening to you. Thank you.
Oh, good. I know. Actually, your afternoon there in Georgia, so good afternoon.
Yes, and my son and daughter-in-law live in Tempe, Arizona, so I can relate. I've been out there a few times. But
nice.
Anyway, I'll be on hold.
Okay, thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate it. So I just want to reset for everyone what we're talking about today. Do you feel like your parents had a favorite child? And when we come back from this very short brief pause and announcements. We'll pick up with Bill in Georgia and talk about this idea of favorite children. I thought Bernadette starting us off was absolutely amazing call to talk about her growing up in a family where she felt like, she wasn't fully, recognized for her worth and presence, if I may say it like that, if that's what happened, and then now her being a mom and her children's their perspective of being raised in a family. So it's very interesting. We can have these types of discussions where we can talk about being raised and then raising children of our own and then being grandparents. So if you'd like to weigh in on this, we had several on the line. Some dropped off and I don't know why. So please call in 833 or call back 288 EWTN 833-288-3986. Do you feel like your parents had a favorite child? I really want to hear from you today.
Tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Morning Show.
We'll celebrate the Feast of St. Bernard of Clairvaux, the mellifluous doctor. We'll also get more thoughts on personal prayer with Father Boniface Hicks and reflect on the Office of Readings with Chris McGregor from Discerning Hearts. Plus all the latest news, weather, sports, and everything you need to start your day a better way.
The Sunrise Morning Show, tomorrow at 6 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
This is Debbie Georgiani. If you missed part of today's show, catch the encore tonight at midnight Eastern or anytime at EWTN Podcast Central. Visit us at EWTN.com/radio/podcasts.
In the famous cleansing of the temple, Jesus overturned the money changers' tables and told them to stop making his Father's house a den of thieves. You're a temple too, you know. God's word tells us, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? When I was first teaching my son about modesty, he saw a billboard of a half-clothed woman and said, "That's gross, right, Dad?" "That's not gross," I said. "That's too sacred to be thrown on a billboard." You see, God doesn't hate sin because we're gross, but because it isn't worthy of us. And that realization changes how we approach sin. It brings us from self-loathing to striving for fulfillment, from negative guilt that tears us down to positive repentance that builds us up. When you consider your failings, consider them in light of the sacredness that God sees in you. You're his temple, you know, and he's passionate about cleansing you because he loves you. This is Chris Stefanik from reallifecatholic.com.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Bring your questions later today on Catholic Answers Live. We'll do our best to get you an answer. Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Did your parents have a favorite child? We are getting some only children weighing in, and we know what the answer is there. You better be the favorite child because you're the only child. So you don't have that sibling rivalry, that competition, that vying for your parents' attention. So it's very interesting. Please call in. If you were on the line, getting some messages saying you were on the line and something happened, you can call back, okay? Please call back. Ace is working very hard to get everybody ready to go on air with us. So just call one more time, 833-288-EWTN. If you think your parents had a favorite child or you feel like you were, what Bernadette was saying, you feel like sometimes you're like hired help or something. You're like, you're just being of service to everybody and you're not really being acknowledged. I mean, I can totally relate to that. Actually, I have a lot to share. I could have spent longer with Bernadette on that because I've had some problems with that as well, that it always bothered me too, that sometimes parents would lean on a certain child a little bit more because they were the ones that were always there and dependable. And so that put an extra pressure on that child. Well, I was that child and that really bothered me. I felt like sometimes a little bit kind of used in that way, but I'm not complaining. I got over it. I went to several counseling sessions. 833-288-3986. Do you feel your parents had a favorite child? 833-288-EWTN. We're speaking with Bill in Dallas, Georgia. And Bill, please, I know we said hello, but go ahead and share with us your take on this.
Mine is a little bit different. I am the oldest of four. Me and my brother, Jerry, are from my father's first marriage, and he divorced Mom, Darlene, back in 1961 or something like that, in 62. My brother and I were in foster care, and then he took us to New York, and we lived with his sister and then grandma, and then he got remarried when I was probably about 7 years old. And then along comes my sister Carrie and then my brother Sean. And I'm really close to my youngest brother Sean, because like when I was 16, I'm 65 now, as you can probably imagine. And I took real interest in my youngest brother, even though we're from, what do you call it, he's my stepbrother, but half-blood. I don't know how else to say it.
Right.
And I took really an interest in him, and everywhere I went, he went, because I was proud of him. And I was helping to raise him as well, because my stepmother, she was young. I think there was only like maybe 13 years or 9 years difference between us. I forget. But anyway, many years later, I'm an active Air Force guy at the time. I retired from the military back in '96. I went home on leave, and she was upset with me because her son, Sean, this is many years later after I left the nest, if you will, that she was upset that her son, Sean, my youngest brother, who I love and helped raise, that she said that she was upset at me because my dad saw me as the number one. But I never felt that way growing up, as far as listening to all the callers today. I stepped up. I helped Mom. I helped to raise, Sean and somewhat my sister Carrie. I really didn't have much of a good relationship with my sister Carrie. It's kind of like, it's like sisters. They were like a pain in the butt sometimes, so, but I love her. And so I was put into the situation by my mom telling me that I was sort of like the number one man. But I never thought that as I've grown up. I just stepped up and did what I had to do before I left to go into the military in 1976. So, but listening to your show today, I said, wow, that has bothered me ever since she told me that, as far as that, and that she didn't like me, she told me. She loved me, but she liked me. So,
she loved you, but she didn't. Wow. Is she still with us, Bill?
No, she sadly passed away back in 2000. She was like 54, going on 55, I believe, from lung cancer.
Oh.
And,
that's a tough death.
Sad, but I do think about her and thank her for what she did to raise me and my brother Jerry and my stepsister and stepbrother, Sean. So, but I just wanted to share that. It was kind of like at a different angle as far as me being number one, but I never really thought that, even though I was the oldest and stepping up to take on the responsibilities and stuff and helping her, my stepmom, with especially my youngest brother.
Are you still close with your youngest brother?
I want to say yes, but there was sort of like I was up in New York recently to visit. My beautiful wife Patricia had passed away last year.
Oh.
And I can tell you something about you woman. My wife Patricia taught us how to love and take care of one another, and I miss her dearly. And we have 3 kids. Her oldest is our son Christopher, who's from her first marriage. But Christopher changed his name to my name when he turned 18.
Wow.
And we wound up adopting 2 boys in 2006 after we tried to have kids in 1998. Timothy we lost stillborn, and then James 10 months later we lost miscarriage.
Mm-hmm,
and then
mm-hmm.
God opened up the door. Talking about God, he's been very instrumental in me getting on with life, especially after my beautiful wife Patricia passed away last June 14th.
That just breaks my heart. I put Patricia in the prayer book, Bill, and I also put your folks, your family, your whole family in the prayer book.
Thank you. We wound up adopting 2 boys, Tony and Tommy, because sadly their father had killed their mother in 2004, and we were foster parents.
Mm-hmm.
My beautiful wife Patricia had the heart the size of God's universe, Jesus' universe, to say, hey, we got room in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and be foster parents. And we wound up taking care of a girl, Katie, then the little boy, Nicholas, for a month when his father was out to sea. And I could relate to the guy because I was 20-year Air Force. He was the Navy guy. So we took care of him. And then Tony and Tommy come walking through the door in a way, if you will. We were not meant to raise Timothy and James, but Tony and Tommy were the 2 boys that we were meant to raise. And that's all because of my wife, Patricia.
Wow.
And,
Bill,
anyway.
you as well. I mean, it took both of you, and yes, Patricia's great big heart and wonderful, nurturing way, absolutely. But you as well, Bill. And I want to thank you, sir, for your military service, and also, Bill, thank you for stepping up for your baby brother. We've done this show for over 9 years, and we've done topics about older siblings stepping in as a parent role, if you will. And I know it's hard on those siblings, but it's very rewarding in a way because you've helped those younger ones make it in this world. And so, Bill, you've done so much. And I'm sorry that you were on the receiving end of some unkind words, but it sounds like you worked through it and you practiced, forgiveness. And that's good because we don't want to get any longer stay in purgatory, any of us. So forgiveness is a good thing. But Bill, I think you're pretty awesome. It sounds like you're a very dependable person, and I'm sure your children are very blessed to have you.
I'm the blessed one.
It's that attitude of gratitude. I love it. Bill, you're awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. We really appreciate it. And thank you for staying on hold through the break. I appreciate that as well, because I know some folks are super, super busy and they can't do that. And it's always unfortunate because we only get half a call. And so Bill just freed a phone line. That was a wonderful call from Bill from Georgia. So if you'd like to pick up that line and talk about favorite children today, if you're an only child and you'd like to weigh in, please do so. We don't want you to sit this out. 833-288-3986. That's the number to call. We're going to get to Becky, and Becky is on Sirius XM 130. That's the way Becky's listening in Alabama. Hello. I guess, okay, Becky's on Sirius XM, I believe. Hi, Becky. Welcome to the program.
Hey there.
Hey, how are you?
Can you hear me? I'm trying to make sure I can hear you. I'm in my car. I'm traveling. I'm from Birmingham.
Okay, Birmingham. That's what I thought.
I'm on my way home from the beach, but I have you on speakerphone. I'm being safe.
Okay. So you go right ahead, Becky. Tell us your childhood story.
Well, I am the baby of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think it's kind of a joke. My siblings would always say that I was the favorite. But I think we all took turns being the favorite. And I think our parents just did a super job of letting us each be favorite from time to time. I had a terminally ill brother who was 6 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a lot for my parents and for all of us. And so, and that was years ago. I'm 61 years old now. So, and he passed away about 30 years ago. So it's been a long time. And both of my parents are gone. But, I don't know. I just think that they did an awesome job of making each of us feel special at different times. And we could joke about it. We always said my brother, not my terminally ill brother, but my other brother who's 5 years older than me, that he was always Mom's favorite. And I was always Dad's favorite. And but like I said, they did a beautiful job. And then I'm a mother of two, and so I've tried to pass that on. Yes, I have favorite character traits, like you said, of each of my children, but I love them the same. So I don't think there's a favorite, although I think sometimes they think there is. But I just think that's general sibling rivalry. And I know in my heart that there are certain things about my son that fit better with me and certain things about my daughter that fit better with me. But I think they could say the same thing about their parents. So I think sometimes we have favorite parents, too. That's a different subject, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Charles, make a note of that, our producer. That's a good one. Yeah. Do you have favorite parents?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to really start
and
problems
to me,
in the
whenever
family.
I think that my husband is my daughter's favorite, I always think that's a really healthy favorite. And so, we can't help it. Sometimes we get along with different people different ways. But like I said, I feel like I had a great example. There were tough times, but I always felt like my mother wanted us to all feel like the favorite. So there you go.
How old was your brother when he passed?
He was 30.
Oh, that must have been really hard.
He had cystic fibrosis, and they were told he would live maybe 5 years, and he lived 30 years. So we felt very blessed to have him as long as we did.
Right.
And my mother was a nurse, and I think that had a lot to do with it. She was an excellent caregiver, and they sacrificed a lot to take care of him. And great example.
Yeah, I put your whole family in the book. I'm so sorry for having to go through that, because that's really tough when you lose a sibling, even though you were so grateful to have them for so many years. But Becky, I got to tell you, back to the beginning of your call, you said you're the youngest of four, the baby of four. And I'm sure if you've listened to the program in Birmingham, you would know that I'm the youngest of six. Jerry's the oldest.
Wow.
Yeah, Jerry's the oldest. Yeah, Jerry's the oldest of his family, the oldest boy, and then I'm the youngest of six. And the same thing happened with me. I think my siblings all felt like I was the favorite, and I think because I was the baby and I was with my parents all alone as my older brothers and sisters went off to college. And
yes.
But I will tell you that when my parents got sick, I was the one, similar to like Bill stepping up and Bernadette. I was the one stepping in, trying to help, and then ended up taking care of my dad for 2 years and my mom for 11 years. And I didn't ask for that. I didn't say, hey, pick me, pick me. I just stepped up because I was the one who, they felt very comfortable with me. Not that they didn't feel comfortable with my other siblings, but they were some were out of state, some weren't nearby and stuff like that. And so it's not that I always want to make it clear. My parents never said, we love you more than your brothers and sisters. They never said that. They just felt very close and comfortable with me. You know what I mean? So I think when you said that, different characteristics and stuff, you tend to gravitate towards those that you, especially when you're going through different times in your life, when you need help or something like that, you'll go to the ones that you feel the most comfortable. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I definitely also felt like I stepped into that position of being their nurturer whenever they were sick and older. And and it's not that my siblings didn't love them. It was just a different relationship.
Right.
And my mother passed first, and then 4 years later, when my dad was very ill, he looked at me one day when I was sitting next to him. And it might make me cry, but he said, "You know who you're pinch hitting for?" And I said, "Daddy, what do you mean?" And he said, "You're pinch hitting for your mother."
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
Now that just made me cry. Wow. I'll tell you, it's interesting. I was a little bit apprehensive taking on this topic today because I didn't want to start any family situations happening. But actually, I think it's been very healing and helpful to just process all this, because know that we're not alone in going through some of the things that we've experienced in our families. I just thank you so much, Becky, for weighing in on this. I really appreciate it. God bless you, and have a beautiful rest of your day on safe driving in Birmingham. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Wow, that was a powerful call. Okay, before we get to Joyce, hold on in California. I just want to share with our listeners, join us for Catholic Connection on tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Catholic Connection. Teresa Tomeo and her guests share their Catholic perspective on the day's news and newsmakers. So that's tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Catholic Connection. Teresa does a great job. Okay, let's go to Joyce listening on Sirius XM 130 in Visalia, California. I always mess up that city. Did I say it right?
Well,
Joyce?
you did. You said it right.
Okay.
Let me put this phone to my ear so there isn't any echo for you.
Yeah. Okay. How do you guys say it who live there? It's a beautiful...
It's Visalia.
Visalia. Okay. Beautiful area you live in. Gorgeous area of the country.
Oh, I love it. Very farm town, and that's actually why we're here. Well, I had a farm life growing up, and I was a farmhand for my dad, as were all of my older siblings. So we had my brother, which was my dad's right-hand man, my sister, and there's me, and then my younger sister. So basically we were born in pairs. So my brother and sister were very close in age. Then 6 years later, I was born. And then 3 years later, my little sister was born. And it was an interesting dynamic there. But I saw my older two siblings kind of, grow up, and I learned from, watching their example of what and what not to do here and there. But, my little sister was kind of, free from having to work on the farm too much because she was so little, and she was super cute, so she never got in trouble. But then I look back on things and I think, oh, my parents were just tired. By the time you have your fourth, you're like exhausted.
Yeah, you kind of give up on the discipline and stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's hard. You do all your big stuff with your first, because you have all the energy and your one-on-one and stuff like that. And I know after having 3 kids that that's the way it is. And so anyway, growing up on the farm, blah, 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 my brother and sister, move away for college and whatnot, a little bit of church service, and, and we were very devout and all that stuff. And anyway, so while they were gone, I was expected to kind of take on a lot of my brother's responsibilities. I could not physically do it. So I got in a lot of trouble with my dad, stuff like that. But, I understand the pressure he was under trying to keep it going on the farm, stuff like that. When my brother came back, my sister visited, lived in town. A lot of stuff happened in our adult life there on the farm when my dad went into it really big. Lost the farm because of a lot of different, like that year that he went into it, we had one disaster after another. There was an early frost. Our wheat was mowed down by hail. Then our cattle was tagged wrong, and they were quarantined, so we couldn't liquidate. All kinds of stuff happened. He was like, I think this is just God's way of telling me to just go into business. So he just cut, and we moved, and we went to the city. And so there, we were all together. My little sister kind of went wayward and had an early pregnancy, at 14. So here's this little baby, and Mom and Dad doted on him. Oh, we love this baby so much. Stuff like that. Okay. So.
Wow. So
fast forward a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, what was your question?
No. Go right ahead. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah. So fast forward a little bit, probably 10 years ago. Stuff is happening. We all have children of our own. Mom and Dad love everybody, but there's a lot of dynamics with what's going on with the grandkids. And this little boy has a lot of attention. And I got a little upset at Mom and Dad, at one point. I just brought it out because I had it. I said, okay, the fact that you helped raise him, I understand. But this is the deal, is that I love you. I reminded them of their values, and I said, okay, somebody is getting rewarded after not following your values, and those that are being rewarded or are not being rewarded are trying so hard to live up to your standards that you set, and this is very incongruent. And, here I am living up to all your expectations. I've tried to do everything you taught me to do. And I don't even get to drive that car that he gets to drive.
Wow.
And this is happening, that's happening. I said, this is upsetting me, and, I'm not the only one who feels this way.
Right.
So I'm just putting it out there. You can do with it what you want.
Yeah. Did they make adjustments, Joyce?
Some here, some there. But I had no idea until they passed. So, heaven bless them. God rest their soul. I love them so much. But, I lost my dad, my mom, and my brother in 2020. And not even from COVID. Couldn't go to church because it was all closed. It was hard. But it was devastating to that boy. Okay. To this poor boy. And he had such a hard time that he put up walls, and he shut everybody out with vitriol and anger. And I understand Mom and Dad loved him so much, but we didn't understand until after they left what all they were doing for him, and he had the same expectations of us after everything was said and done.
Wow.
And there was nothing to give him that could be given. Does that make sense? We could not match what they had been doing.
What they had given, yeah.
And that makes it even worse financially.
Wow. So you guys are still trying to kind of deal with this and pick up the pieces and move forward. See, that's the interesting thing. When parents and kids have their relationships and grandkids, and then it evolves, and then the parents move on, and they go to meet the Lord. It's interesting because there's a lot to still, the dynamics of the family have changed, and there's a lot to still have to deal with and to work with and to try and fix and heal and everything. It's very interesting how the family goes on, and others have to step into different roles and try to practice the healing and forgiveness and reconciliation and all sorts of things. And wow, Joyce, a lot of things to be said in the situation. I wish I had more time to comment on some of the things. Unfortunately, we're going to hear the music in about 30 seconds. But Joyce, thank you for sharing your story today. Very important. We needed to hear it. So just to have us be aware that everybody's noticing. Our kids are noticing. Our grandkids are noticing. Family members are noticing how we interact with each other. Kimberly in Iowa, Rosemary in California, Judy in Houston, Texas, Angelina in Amarillo, Texas. I'm not going to get to you today, but at the end of this month, there's an unscripted show. I'm going to ask you to please, Kimberly and Rosemary and Judy and Angelina, call back during the unscripted and share your story, because some of you, we have adopted children here. We have only children weighing in. We have those that are from big families weighing in on this. It was a great topic. Betsy on YouTube, thank you for waving. I'm waving to you. Thank you for weighing in, I should say. I'm waving to you, Betsy, and the others. You guys are so awesome. Thank you to the show team, Ace and Pedro, and our wonderful producer, Charles. You did a fine job. Thank you to all the affiliates. Tomorrow's show, is there a lack of patience in this world? I think so. We ask St. John Hughes to please pray for all of us. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.
The Immaculate Heart of Mary signifies the great purity and love of the heart of the Blessed Virgin Mary for God. It points us to her profound interior life, where she experienced both joys and sorrows, yet remained faithful, as we too are called to do. August is dedicated as the month of